Alright, guys. So, I have kind of been convicted, excuse my morning voice, to the first words I'm speaking today. And I lost my voice at work the other day because, you know what, sometimes it gets loud and then I go home and play with kids and I still have to yell. So, I felt convicted because is this like a large platform where a bunch of people follow? No. That being said, I want God to be the center of everything that I do in my life. And how could He be the center of this YouTube channel if I don't talk about Him? Right? So, aside from the fact that I will no longer consciously just keep my channel like watches exclusively, I also wanted to make just a basic video to explain why I am a Christian. Why would a person who, though I'm not the smartest person to ever exist, I work every day with people who are so much smarter than me, so it's impossible to have that delusion, but why would a smart person, objectively a person who is intelligent, believe in Sky Daddy, right? So, I do everything that I do because I firmly believe that it is not only the right thing to do, but the most logical thing to do. If you know me in person, you will know. Like, I know my dad watches this channel, so he's probably laughing right now. Ever since I was born, I am not a follower. I am not a person who blindly listens to what other people say or goes with the flow. I am the person who does what the fuck he wants to do when he wants to do it, and if I think what everyone else is doing is stupid, I will tell everyone this is stupid and go do what I think is better. That is just how I am. That is how God made me. So, what led me to believe that not only is God real, but He is worthy to be followed? I knew He was real, and I'm going to, some of you guys are going to think I'm insane after this video, and that's okay. It is not my job to convince you that I am not insane, but it is my job to tell you the truth. So, ever since I was a child, I grew up, was born and raised in LA, in a little apartment building. So, you know what? The factor of poverty in an area is directly correlated with the factor of violence in an area. It's just a fact, right? So was it the worst? No. Was it the best? No. So there was a lot of violence, and there was also where I spent the most of my childhood was in Whittier, California, which is a hub for witchcraft. Like, people travel from a lot of other states to come to Whittier, California, as part of like the Wiccan movement, right? It's a huge hub for them, and this included my grandfather, who practiced witchcraft and he lives in the same apartment complex that we did, and it also includes his daughter, who got so into witchcraft that he told her, you need to stop doing these things, doing these rituals in my house, because the rituals you're doing are not safe. And this is coming from a guy who, as a child, was doing witchcraft. That's when he started. Had everything in his house, including furniture, get lifted off the ground, and him and his brother got thrown around the room, and his brother's arm physically got snapped. The bones in it got snapped in two. Right? So, and this guy continued practicing witchcraft for the rest of his life, to my knowledge. So for him, the stuff that his daughter was doing was too extreme, right? So what do you get when you have an area filled with sin and violence and a ton of people there with the express purpose of worshiping Satan, if we call it what it is? He responds, right? If you throw someone a party, they're probably going to show up. It's just a fact. So, I witnessed a lot of demonic activity as a child, right? And this is where a lot of people are going to click off the video, claim I have schizophrenia, and feel good about their decision. And that's fine. You have every right to do that. You don't know me, right? That could very well be the truth, even though I don't. So I witnessed a lot of demonic activity, including like walking into my grandfather's house to witness my aunt, who was my brother's age, like 2 years older than me, levitating. I also, we were on a work trip with my father, so we were states away, or state, no, yeah, we were in Arizona from California, yeah, so states away, and, because he went to Washington a few times, so we were states away, and my grandfather said that he saw me, clear as day, walk up to his door and say, "Hey, Grandpa, where's Anna?" That's her name, his daughter. And he said, "Oh, mijo, she's, not at my house this weekend. She's with her mom, so you'll just have to come back next weekend if you want to see her, but you can come in if you want." And he said that I then became agitated and told him, "No, I need to see her now. Where is she?" To which he again replied, very creeped out, because that is not the way that I would speak to my grandfather, "She's not here, mijo, I'm sorry." To which he said that I physically looked in his house, looked back at him, and said, "Okay, well, next time you see her, tell her that I came to find her and I'm coming back." And then walked away, which to him was creepy as shit, because that would be creepy as shit to see your, 8-year-old grandson talk to you like that. And he also described a very weird feeling around the experience. So, naturally, he called my mom to be like, "Hey, David just stopped by being incredibly weird. Here's what happened." Told her the story. And she informed him, "We're in another state. And we have been in another state for a week, and we will be for another week." So, after knowing that there's evil in the world, and I saw a whole lot of other stuff growing up, like dolls walking on their own in his house, drums playing themselves, doors opening and closing themselves, and not randomly opening and closing themselves upon challenge of me saying, "Prove that you're there to unclean spirits," and them slowly closing the door, opening the door, then slamming the door, and then hearing them on the other side of the door. I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, and I was not the only one. My brother witnessed this, neighbors witnessed this. There were actually a number of people who lived in the apartment complex that ended up leaving within a very short period of time because they kept seeing dead people and kept having supernatural events happen in their house. So, that again circles back to me not being schizophrenic, because guess what? I was not the only one seeing these things. So I knew from a very early age that where darkness exists, light exists. There has to be both sides, right? So I knew that evil existed. I know that demons existed. I knew the devil existed. So, in kind, if evil exists, there must be light. So I knew there was a God. I just chose not to serve him, which is foolish, but it's the truth. And it may sound foolhardy to people who have never witnessed anything supernatural in their life. How could you see all that and not serve God, right? Most people could see any of that and would immediately serve God. And I will respond by telling you it was normal. Now, this sounds weird, But when you're a 6 or 7-year-old kid who sees dolls walking themselves around in ritual at your grandfather's house, and that's not scary enough for you to go home, you'd rather finish your ice cream first and hang out with grandpa, because that's something that you see so frequently. You see weird shit happen, or you see demons in your room so often that you don't really even get out of bed anymore to tell mom and dad, because you know eventually they'll go away, and they don't usually hurt you. You know, anything can become normal at that young of an age if it is done frequent enough. It's just a fact. So that is why I specified in the beginning, I know that there is a God, and I know that there is a God, and I choose to serve him, because I knew there was a God far before I chose to serve him. Now, how has God shown himself to me in my life? As you guys know, I am in the medical field, right? There have been multiple occasions. My wife suffers from preeclampsia when she gets pregnant. It's happened 3 times out of 3 times. That is where your blood pressure goes up, essentially in an effort from your body overall to kill the child, right? So, and that's an oversimplified version. You guys can Google preeclampsia, but ultimately a lot of times what happens is the mother goes eclamptic, the baby dies, and sometimes the mom dies. So 3 times it's happened. The first, it wasn't too bad. My son went to the NICU, and because we're a small hospital, we don't have a NICU, newborn ICU. So he went up to the newborn ICU about an hour and 45 minutes away. And then for my second son, my wife was given a drug, which this drug was a drug to lower her blood pressure because she would have died. And the doctor gave it, and the likelihood statistically of it going to the baby through mom is low, extremely low, like in the low percentage, right? Like single digit percentage. And it did. So what happened was the drug calms down the body by force, essentially. So my wife's blood pressure went down, baby was born, and then baby was born not breathing. And I'm going to try to not cry as I tell this. So I watched as my baby was born, not breathing, turned purple. People are sternly rubbing the baby, trying to tell me that everything's okay, not knowing what I do and the fact that I know that it's not okay. And then I had to stand back and watch a code being done on my child, newborn, premature child, knowing, just having this statistic playing in my head over and over again of how often codes work, which is not a lot, and how often codes work on children, which is not a lot, and how often they work on newborns, which is even less, and how often they work on premature babies, which is even less. And I knew, despite what they were telling me to try to keep me calm, that I was watching my baby die. Sorry. Okay. And I knew that my child had less than 2% chance of survival. And I watched as my baby somehow lived. And I knew that it was God, because I've seen babies die who are in a much better situation than he was in. And I know that what I saw happen does not happen. It never happens. And I'm not going to dive more into it because I will not be able to stop crying. But so many things played into that situation that alone would be damning to a child. And God saved him. And I know God saved him because when you keep stacking 2% chance upon 2% chance, people don't live. That doesn't happen. But God saved him because he has a plan for his life. Sorry. So, that's what happened with my second child. And you may say, then why did you have a third child, idiot? We didn't try to. She got pregnant. And she, I believe, if I remember correctly, was on birth control when she got pregnant. So, fuck. So, I thought, okay, this must be God's plan. Praise God, we'll have a child. Hopefully she won't get preeclampsia. She got it sooner and more severe than every other time, which ended in her blood pressure being so high that I was shocked she was conscious as she was telling it to me at work on the phone. So I told her, that's fine. Go into the doctor, which was right next door. My unit is surgery. Right next to it is the birthing center. So go in right now. I will tell Marty, who's our doctor, and I work with him. He's a wonderful human, just an absolutely wonderful human. I said, I will tell Marty you're coming. Go. So he met her there and said, yeah, we're having the baby today because you'll die if we don't. I said, okay. And then she got taken actually on a small plane to that other hospital that I talked about before. And I guess I probably shouldn't have said Marty's name. Sorry, Marty, for watching this. Taken on a plane to that other hospital. And they kept the baby in and gave her steroids to try to help the baby develop because he was extremely premature, on the edge of where they even expect the baby to live or not. And they were able to keep the baby in for a week to be able to develop and build lungs, because that is the last thing, the respiratory system that develops for babies. That's like the last step of cooking them, and then they just get physically larger and more fortified in their immune system. So they kept him in for a week, and I was home at this point because we wanted to keep some level of normalcy for our kids, our other two sons, who were 1 and 3 at this point. Excuse me. And I get a phone call in the middle of the night, which I didn't wake up to because I was so tired from being a single working dad. It was just exhausting. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That was an unintentional lie. I was not working by that point. I had stopped working, but I was just exhausted from being a single dad. And I got a phone call that I slept through. And then I had my brother knock on the door and say, hey, your wife and my father, my wife called both of them and was like, hey, go wake David up. He's not answering the phone. The baby's coming right now. And I'm going into organ failure. So I was headed down to the hospital, fully expecting to watch not only my child die, but my wife die. Thankfully, that did not happen, because I have a wife and 3 sons. So if you guys know me, you know that, spoiler. But, so we get there, all of that happens, we're uncertain how it's going to go, the baby's born, we know the baby's okay, mom's not okay yet, right? So in between this process, I have to go home and drive back there pretty much every day. And as I'm driving there, on one of the days, it's, I think, around midnight, right? So the stars are out, and I am just panicking, fully panicking, not only on behalf of my child and my wife, but on behalf of myself, because I just don't know how I will ever recover emotionally or mentally from seeing my family members die, as I almost once had. And on top of that, how am I going to be a father alone if this does happen? And as I'm thinking all of this, God tells me, speaks to me, right? I tried to identify afterwards if it was audibly, as if I was hearing it, or if he spoke to me just directly. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I don't remember, unfortunately. But God told me, look at the stars. So I looked, out the front, and I saw the stars, and it was completely clear. I'm just weaving through Oregon mountains. There's zero light pollution. You can see everything incredibly clearly. I'm looking at the stars. You feel like you can see the whole universe. And as I'm doing this, I feel this overwhelming sense of calm, this illogical calm that not only is everything okay, I was happy. I was filled with joy. And God told me, I made everything. I am God. I am the creator of the universe, right? And I love you. I'm gonna cry again. And he just told me that everything was gonna be okay. You know, and showed me how silly it was just in those few words. Like, look, I made everything. I made everyone. The entire universe, I made everything in it. And you're doubting that I could save one of my children, you know, or one of your children and your wife to the creator of the universe. And it floored me. I began profusely crying and praising God and worshiping. I had no music. My phone was dead. I was just singing out of key worship songs the whole way, praising God for who he was. And they all were okay. Everything ended up being okay. But point being, guys, is God has proven himself to me. He has shown himself to me with not only miraculous signs and saving my family multiple times from situations that I know as a healthcare provider they shouldn't have lived through. Or I'll say through as a healthcare professional who sees this stuff every day, they shouldn't have lived through. Happening multiple times is just statistically impossible. He's spoken to me multiple times. I've seen demons. I've seen the works of Satan. I've seen God and I've seen his acts. And I know that he is worthy to be praised and worthy to be followed. And that is why I praise him and that is why I live for him. So that is, long story short, there's so much more I could tell you about in this video. But I kind of just thought it's better to hit the highlights, give you context, tell you the big things, and, you know, let that be enough. So that is why I am a Christian. When you see things on here of me mentioning God, as it will happen more frequently, this is so you will know ahead of time why I do what I do, why I believe what I believe, and why I follow God, and why you should too. So, as I will now be saying in every single video, there is one true God. It is Jesus Christ. He knows you. He knows everything about you. And even knowing everything about you, he loves you.